So with today's video, we're going to be shooting this. So we're going to break this up into two parts. The first one, we're going to be filming everything. And then in the second video, we're going to take it all into DaVinci and edit and whatnot on the computer. So let's get started. So to get started here, I guess we'll kind of go over everything that we have so far. I have a bunch of seasonings and I have a little bit of food that we're actually going to be using. I have the G2 right there, lenses and batteries and whatnot. We'll get to that in a second. And then this is going to be our shooting area. And then on this side, we have a scrim. I think I'm gonna be changing this because I think I'm gonna put two lights on this side and we're gonna blast it this way. I think I might use one of my lights as a backlight, just adding a little bit of color over the top of stuff. And then on this side, we'll probably just bounce whatever we get from this side, bounce it back into the food to light up some of the shadow areas. I think I'm gonna just stick with this. And then I also have this cutting board that I kind of like weathered. And then the other thing that I have is this little doohickey. I don't even know what this is called, so I'm gonna call it that. And then I have these three little bowls that go on top of it. I think I'm going to take those and just kind of like put spices and stuff in there. I don't really know yet how I'm going to do it. And then I also have this motorized Lazy Susan where I can put the cutting board on top of it and then it'll kind of spin around so we can get kind of a little bit of movement in the shots. And then I have this guy. I bought this thing a very long time ago, but it's I don't even know what they're called. I don't even know if you can buy them anymore. But it kind of just holds a tripod and then you put PVC down as track. Super inexpensive way to do it because then you can take PVC and get it as long as you need, but it's super simple. It works. The only thing that you have to do is you have to make sure that you have a lot of weight on the top, just because if you're moving it by the camera or the tripod head, you don't want any movement with anything. So having a ton of weight on the tripod really helps with maintaining the smoothness. I think that's kind of everything for the gear. Aperture 120D Mark IIs. I brought a bounce and then I have some other light modifiers over here. I think I actually might use this on the background. And I don't know where it is. I think down in there, I also have called fairy lights. So I could take that little guy over there and kind of wrap the fairy lights and maybe put that in the background to kind of just give like a little bit of depth so it's not everything on the black. We could just have that out of focus and we should get some nice little orbs and stuff. So let's just get started, I guess. So if you didn't see before, I tried shooting this earlier this week, but I had a couple of issues. I still didn't figure them out, but we're just gonna move forward from there. I ended up making this barbecue sauce, and when I initially made it, the bottle was not cold because it was still fresh bottle. So putting the label on was perfectly fine. But now, as you can see, if the bottle is kind of like sweating, so it's not the greatest looking label. Kind of a bummer because now this label looks kind of garbage. All right, so this isn't looking terrible so far. The only thing that I don't really like, the backdrop has a little bit of light on it. I want to kind of knock that down. Also, I have to get the other one back. That light there, it's going to be coming over everything. So for that, I want that light back there to be a different color, so I'm going to gel it quick. So I never really worked with these fairy lights before, just so thin, but these are the things I was talking about. So that's what it looks like. So I'm gonna try to get them to look somewhat decent on this board. Don't really know how I'm gonna do this, but. All right, so that's looking a little bit better on the background, but I think I need to bring all of this way a little bit so that we get more distance so that a lot of that isn't getting hit. Brought this up a little bit. Now we have no light back there, but this is getting kind of close to this. So I'll have to adjust that once I get the lenses out and I can see how far I can move this over. moving this over obviously is going to start to reveal some light over here, so I'll just have to, you know, play with it until I get it right. So this is kind of what we're looking at so far. It's not bad. We're getting a little bit of bokehs in the back. We're getting the bounce on this side of the cup, the glass. I hate that it's empty, but we're gonna kind of have to deal with that. We can see some of the stuff over here. The only thing that we really don't have in this shot yet is much of any other light, adding a little bit of like depth, because it's only the one shadow here and there's no other color. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to gel up the one light, and then we're gonna shoot that from the back, coming into the scene this way, and maybe we can get some other colors going on there to make it look a little bit cooler. So after playing around for a little bit, I decided that I was going to change things up a little bit after I added in that light. So I added in that light back there. It's 3/4 CTO, and then instead of having the bounce, I just put this up because I didn't want the bounce. Took this down, and then I was getting reflection, so I just threw up a flag. And now currently this is the like lighting situation that we have. If we take a look at this, I think this shot looks really good. I didn't fill any of these in. Those right there, I'm gonna end up putting in seasonings. The other thing that I ended up doing is if I take this bottle and I just shake it up a bit, it fills up the top half, so it sort of looks like it's filled. So in here, it doesn't look all that bad for a little bit, so I might be able to get like 1 or 2 shots off before I'll have to go and shake it up again if I want to do that, just so it has like the filled look instead of looking empty, because I currently here in the office don't have any other barbecue sauce and I kind of want to shoot this. So now being up close like this, if we take a look at this shot, it's kind of dark on the front. If we would end up taking the bounce, we could end up lighting that up a little bit if we want to. So I think I'm actually going to do that. See, it's pretty dark, and then if we light it up a little bit, just to add a little bit. Okay, so right there, bam, I think that is good. So there we go, that's where we're currently at. I think that looks good. So I'm just going to maybe do a dolly in right where my focus peaking hits. Perfect. Okay, so now we're kind of good on that. The other thing that we could do while we have everything set up, I can go and take my Lazy Susan and use that. So next, I wanted to have the tomatoes fall on the cutting board with a little bit of water and shoot it all in slow motion, but I didn't have enough hands to do everything, so I had to inquire some help. It looks terrible like this, but once we actually have it in slow motion, it looks a little better. Take a look at this.
Everything's better in slow motion.
Okay, so now the next little part that I'm going to do is with the seasonings. Not exactly sure how I'm going to do it yet. I currently look through the 85mm and it looks good, but I think I want to shoot the probe lens going across all of these and kind of showing the label in the background. So we're going to give that a shot. If you've never seen the probe lens, it comes in this nifty case. It looks unique. Looks like this. It's pretty long, and the cool thing about this is I can get practically right on top of the edge of the lens and still be able to focus. So the minimum focus distance is I think like 2mm. It's pretty crazy. This is kind of what we're looking at right here. Let me close this a little bit. So we're going to go right over top of everything. We're going to look at the bottle, maybe bring it back over it. Let me show you what it looks like when we're actually recording here. Let me record a clip. So we could start with this and maybe that other bottle in the background, and we'll pull back over all of the different seasonings. So I think that looks good. Just could use, a little working on where our placement is for all of our bottles and stuff. I think that will work. So one of the issues that I'm having now, and the reason why I had to bring the silk up, is because I'm not getting enough light. I initially wanted to shoot this at 120, but even at 1600 ISO, we're still looking pretty freaking dark. So I'll record that quick. We're still looking pretty dark, right? So I think what I'm gonna do is, instead of doing that, I think I'm going to take this down to 60. So I get half my light back. And I think I'm just going to film this because I want to get some of these peppercorns to like drop down. So yeah, that's kind of one of the things that we're gonna have to do, just because we don't have big enough lights for this kind of thing with this lens. So I had to enlist a little bit of help again so that I could dolly the camera back as the peppercorns were falling. And I think this ended up turning out pretty good. So I'm not really the best at making food look amazing. I don't really have that much experience, but you know, you kind of work with what you have and the little bit that you know. The idea here is that I just wanted to have a nice little layer of meat and then a couple of vegetables on the top, mainly for color. And then I was going to then dump the barbecue sauce on top of the sandwich. Once I had the food set up, then I was going to put some extra seasonings on the cutting board to just add a little bit more texture to the whole shot. So this is what we're currently working with. I'm going to be shooting this at 120 because I'm going to be pouring the barbecue sauce on top of the sandwich. We have a little bit of the background. I think that those fairy lights are starting to die out back here. I think they're like starting to get a little dim. But this is kind of what I have. I just kind of laid down a little bit of the seasonings and stuff here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the barbecue sauce on top of the sandwich. Once the barbecue sauce shot's done, then I'm going to take the bun and I'm going to place that on top, push it down, get some of the oozing going and whatnot. And that should look like a pretty good shot. And then once everything is down, I might put the Lazy Susan underneath, rotate it a little bit, and get some like shots of the sandwich put together fine. I ended up putting a little too much. Now, if this was a commercial, I would probably have another sandwich just sitting aside, but I obviously don't for this one, so I kind of have to work with what I have here. But I probably would have shot this again with a little less barbecue sauce. Then here's the shot of me adding that bun on top. I didn't see it ooze as much as I would have liked, so here I ended up pushing it again, but obviously that's not something I would want to keep. I think what I'm going to do before I clean everything off, I think I'm just going to put the Lazy Susan up, bring the camera up a little bit, spin it around, maybe take the birch beer bottle out of there, and just have it spin just the way it is, because I think it actually looks pretty good now that everything's oozing to the sides. All right, so I had to take a little bit of a break, but coming back to the food, it's looking kind of rough. You can see that like some of the cabbage fell down, so that's not really desirable, but we'll make it work. But I have it on the Lazy Susan down there. And then if we take a look, actually I'll just hit record, we can actually see that it looks pretty good. So first I think I'm gonna do it like this and do like a dolly in and dolly out. And then I was gonna get like really close to it, but with the way it looks now, I don't think I'm going to do that. So I think I'm gonna just do this, have it stopped, and then maybe take it off of the Lazy Susan, and then I can do like taking the bottle and dropping the bottle down next to it. Let me bring you in. If I drop it down like right there, obviously this isn't in focus, so we'd have to focus it up. That looks fine, right? The only thing though, this bottle is adding a lot of shade to the meat here. So if I was to then put it back just a little bit, so now if we take a look at the sandwich, everything is looking, it's still out of focus, but there we go. Everything is looking really nice. As you can see here, we're in focus. You can see the red. And then over here, you can see like right there, we're in focus. So that looks good. So everything is pretty much in focus. The only thing you would have to make sure of is that we have them touching, because we really don't have that much space here. So the better idea might be to tilt the sandwich. I'm gonna move this first and tilt the sandwich like that. And then maybe we can get them closer. So there we go. Now we have everything perfect. We have the bottle and the sandwich, both in light. We're also getting some reflection from the reflector here. We have the light from the back coming down on both sides. We have a little bit of, let me just remove this. We have a little bit of seasoning down here, a couple of like pebbles. Let me just film this quick so you can see. So this shot is looking pretty good. The only thing I'm gonna do now is shake up the bottle so that we it looks like it's full, and I'm gonna place it down in the shot. So I'm gonna do that quick. Okay, so I think everything turned out pretty good. I think that's it for here. Next, we just need to take it back to the computer. We're gonna do an ingest and then start editing it, and hopefully we have enough footage to turn this into, somewhat of a good commercial. So let's go.